What's up, eco-warriors? In this video, we're going to talk about something that's not so great: the devastating floods that have hit Pakistan in 2022. But don't worry, we're not here to bum you out. We want to talk about how climate change and global warming are making these floods worse, and what we can do to stop them. So grab a cup of chai and let's get into it. What is global warming? Global warming is caused by the buildup of certain gases in the Earth's atmosphere, which act like a blanket around the planet, trapping heat and causing the planet to warm up. These gases are called greenhouse gases, and the most common one is carbon dioxide. To understand how this works in everyday life, think of a car that's been sitting in the sun with its windows rolled up. When you get inside the car, it's really hot, even if it's not that hot outside. That's because the heat from the sun is getting trapped inside the car by the windows, just like the heat from the sun is getting trapped by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Now imagine that instead of just one car, there are billions of cars, factories, and power plants all over the world burning fossil fuels and releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The more carbon dioxide there is in the atmosphere, the more heat gets trapped, and the warmer the planet becomes. This warming has serious consequences, like more frequent and intense heat waves, droughts, and wildfires, as well as melting glaciers and rising sea levels. These changes can have significant impacts on our environment, economy, and society as a whole. Pakistan has always been prone to flooding, but in recent years, the frequency and intensity of these floods have increased. In 2022, it's been particularly bad. Whole villages have been submerged, homes destroyed, and lives lost. It's heartbreaking. But what's causing these floods to become more frequent and more furious? It's all down to climate change and global warming. As the Earth's temperature rises, glaciers and ice caps are melting at an alarming rate. This leads to an increase in the volume of water in rivers, and when there's a lot of rain, the rivers overflow their banks, causing floods. The problem is, global warming is causing more and more rainfall in areas that are already prone to flooding. This means that even a small increase in the volume of water in the rivers can cause catastrophic flooding. It's a vicious cycle, and it's not going to stop unless we take action. And it's not just the weather that's making things worse. Deforestation and urbanization are also contributing factors. Trees are vital for absorbing rainwater and preventing soil erosion, but deforestation has drastically reduced the number of trees in many regions of Pakistan. Meanwhile, urbanization has led to construction in low-lying areas, which makes them even more vulnerable to flooding. Rich countries contribute significantly to global warming, and the impacts of climate change disproportionately affect poorer countries like Pakistan. Number 1. Fossil fuel consumption. Rich countries like the United States, Europe, and China are responsible for the vast majority of global carbon emissions due to their high levels of fossil fuel consumption. Burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, which contributes to global warming. The effects of global warming, such as sea level rise and more severe weather patterns, can have devastating consequences on countries like Pakistan. Number 2. Industrial agriculture. Industrial agriculture practices in rich countries often involve the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, which can contribute to greenhouse gas emissions and pollution. These practices can also lead to soil degradation and erosion, making it more difficult for farmers in countries like Pakistan to grow crops. Number 3. Meat consumption. The high levels of meat consumption in rich countries also contribute to global warming. The production of meat, especially beef, is a significant source of greenhouse gas emissions due to the methane produced by cows. This can impact poorer countries like Pakistan by contributing to changes in climate patterns, which can lead to droughts and other weather extremes. Number 4. International transportation. International transportation, such as air travel and shipping, also contributes to greenhouse gas emissions. The global trade in goods and services relies on international transportation, which can contribute to increased emissions and climate change impacts in countries like Pakistan. To add to this, The global economy is highly interconnected, which means that the actions of one country can have ripple effects on other countries. This is especially true for issues like climate change, which affects every corner of the planet. For example, many companies in rich countries outsource their manufacturing to poorer countries, where labor is cheaper. However, these factories often have lower environmental standards and may emit more greenhouse gases or pollute local waterways. This contributes to climate change and environmental degradation and can have negative impacts on the health and livelihoods of people living in these countries, including in Pakistan. Another example is the international financial system, which can incentivize investment in fossil fuels over renewable energy. Wealthy countries and investors often have a greater ability to influence international finance and may prioritize profits over sustainable development. This can make it harder for developing countries like Pakistan to access funding for clean energy projects or climate adaptation measures, which would help them cope with the impacts of climate change. Conclusion. So, what can we do to stop these floods from happening? Well, first of all, we need to start taking climate change seriously. We need to reduce our carbon footprint and shift towards renewable energy. We also need to protect our forests and stop the destruction of natural habitats. Finally, we need to adapt to the changing climate. We need to build infrastructure that can withstand flooding, and we need to invest in early warning systems and emergency response plans. We hope that this video has helped to shed some light on the devastating floods that have hit Pakistan in 2022. It's a tragic reminder that climate change is real and that we need to take action now to protect our planet. Thanks for watching, and if you have any thoughts or comments, be sure to leave them below. Please like, share, and subscribe for more interesting content.